Welcome to Momentum for Change, Voices of the Missouri Movement. This is a monthly podcast produced by your coalition, and I am your host, Nora Mosby, a member services specialist at the Missouri Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. We hope that you enjoy this conversation coming to you directly from Voices of the Missouri Movement. Some episodes of Momentum for Change have conversations that include content and descriptions of domestic and sexual violence, which may be alarming or activating for some listeners. Please take care and visit the MOCADSV website or call our office to connect with supportive services. Welcome to episode 12 of season 3 of Momentum for Change. This is actually part 2 of episode 12, and I'm your host, Nora Mosby. Momentum for Change is a monthly podcast brought to you by the Missouri Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence to lift up voices of the Missouri movement. If you tuned in for part 1 of the episode, you know that we took the podcast live to the MOCADSV biannual conference in Columbia, Missouri in November 6th, 7th, and 8th of 2024. We talked to conference attendees about the conference, advocacy, and the collective power of the Missouri movement. For part 2 of this episode, we're going to continue the conversation with additional conference attendees, and I hope you enjoy their deep insights and reflections.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. As we're getting started, can you introduce yourself and let us know where you work?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My name's Laura Halfmann, she, her pronouns, and I'm a social worker and a co-manager of our Philly Law unit at Legal Services, Eastern Missouri.
Well, I know Legal Services is doing a ton of amazing things and providing excellent services. Is there something that you're particularly proud of?
Well, thank you. So I am just so proud of our team, frankly. We provide holistic legal advocacy to survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. And I can say with full confidence that our team of attorneys and social workers and paralegals are just so mission driven of how can we address and stop domestic violence one survivor at a time, but then also systemically. How can we improve our court systems for those who are going through without attorneys? And truly we see such great results for our clients. Giving tools, giving information about their rights through the legal process. And then they can decide whether this is the right thing for them to do to proceed with a divorce case, an order of protection, a custody matter, and what will help their family really achieve safety.
Yeah, one thing that I just think is remarkable about the Last 2 Solutions program is that you address that legal side and then the social work side as well. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Absolutely. Well, we say that, sometimes a divorce can be an incredible tool to get away from an abusive partner, right? And it's really a tangible way to separate. But while going through that process, it can be really challenging. And a lot of our clients are kind of restarting, are trying to figure out how to build back these ways towards stability.
Yeah.
And so our social workers are able to help create space for that, to help somebody process what they're going through, to help somebody connect about different resources that might be available in ways that they didn't even know existed because they never had needed it before, right? But also things that they might be entitled to, like connections to public benefits, connections to talking about that process, talking about counseling options. Our social workers are also just available for safety planning, right? And court support, because it can just be very challenging to have to go to court and see your ex.
Yeah.
And as you're considering, am I making the right move? And just to have that person next to you who believes you and is going to be with you through this journey can be very powerful.
Yeah, I could not agree more. So, Laura, I've known you for a number of years, and one thing that's always impressed me about you is how much you believe in community partnerships. I've seen you working so hard within your own organization, but then you go the extra mile and you work within the St. Louis community, and then you also are very active at the state level. I know you believe in the power of partnerships, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on unity and why you value unity and anti-violence advocacy work.
I think from the very beginning, I realized, survivors have such a myriad of needs. And there's no way that one of us could ever even start to address that. If we only have cheeseburgers for sale, everyone will eat a cheeseburger. But if we can help offer a wide range of things, then people can make choices that actually fit their lives better. And so I firmly believe that the legal assistance that we can help provide survivors is really just a piece of the puzzle to kind of creating that safety net, that ability for them to bounce back from this situation and truly start a new chapter. I also know that we see one side of the coin, right? We see one area of domestic violence. And so in partnership with so many others in our city and in statewide, I think it helps our team to understand perspectives of other folks doing this work, to better know how to support our survivors, but also to better know how we can change systems in our community.
Wow. So you really see community collaboration and a united kind of array of services to better serve survivors and create, like you said, that safety net that can be so important when you're in crisis. Awesome. Well, so this is day 2 of conference. Are there any highlights that really are standing out to you of things that you think have been particularly valuable or interesting?
The speakers have been fabulous so far. Every session, I feel like I am just learning these tidbits of knowledge, and it's cliche, but it's really helpful to take a step back and just try to listen and observe and think what we can take back. And I really appreciate hearing from folks doing this work across the state and the different perspectives they have of doing rural advocacy and shelter and crisis management and, hospital advocacy, and hearing their experiences and remembering we're in this together, and also just developing a bigger appreciation for the work that each group is really tackling.
Yeah, it's unique work. It's really different than other fields. And so I think there is so much value in being with people who do the same work and have a lot of the same just commitment to social justice.
Absolutely. And to look around the room and think we are all choosing to be here and to walk with survivors and want to see a difference be made.
Well, I think that just sums it up perfectly. Thank you so much for joining the podcast, Laura. Anything else you wanted to say, though?
No, thanks so much.
All right, thanks, Laura.
I'm Tressa, the Executive Director of the Agape House Incorporated of Mountain View. We are shelters for victims of domestic violence. We've been there for 33 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
It is.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about what's going particularly well or something you're really proud of at Agape House?
One of the things we're really proud of at Agape House is that we have a hands-on board that comes in and helps with repairs and things that need to be done. They come together to make sure we have everything we need. And then we also have a fantastic staff that makes sure that from the moment people enter into our program, that they know that we care about them. We have a care package we give everybody and every child when they come in. And in the child care package, there's a throw blanket, there's a coloring book and crayons and a stuffed toy, just something that says we care about you, and something that's their own because they've left everything behind. So we're really proud of that. We're proud of our boutique where the ladies can go and actually shop, so to speak, free for all the clothing and things they need for them and their children. That way they feel like they have the right to make their own choices, that autonomy is very important to them.
That's fantastic. Well, that's a lot of things to be proud of at Agape House. Congratulations. You do wonderful work there, Teresa.
Thank you.
The theme of our conference this year is unity. Can you speak a little bit about what unity means to you and why you think it's an important part of advocacy?
Unity means to me when people come together, putting their differences aside. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean we don't have them, but putting our differences aside to work together for the common goal. And the common goal here, of course, is to make people aware of what domestic and sexual violence is and how to prevent it and how to serve those who have been victimized by it.
Yeah, that's how real change is going to happen, as our keynote speaker, Dr. Wendy Mahoney, just said.
And we can make those changes, and we've made some changes through the years, and I have gone very public about speaking not only that are we the shelter, but how we do our services, explaining to the community, it's not just a place for people to stay, but they get all these wonderful services when they come into the program, our survivor support group, our parenting classes that we completely sit down with Children's Division and rewrote, because not everybody's children are on the same page, and to be able to parent in a different way for every age group for your children, and how to help them become a better parent, because they're already a parent, help them become a better parent as they move forward with their kids.
Yeah, and sometimes it really helps to partner with community resources and other organizations, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have been involved in the movement here in Missouri for many years, a couple decades, almost 3.
Yes.
So is there anything that you think is going really well for the Missouri movement as a united movement?
Well, I have seen such change in the years that I have been here. I've been here 24 years, and I have watched us become more inclusive to all victims rather than, we of course, we started out with our mission to just help the women that were victims of domestic violence, but I've seen us broaden our scope, and a victim is a victim, a perpetrator is a perpetrator. And so we want to serve all victims and offer them all the very same and best quality of services that we can possibly offer them across this entire state of Missouri.
I love that. So inspiring to hear you say that, Teresa.
Well, I'm very sincere about that.
I know you are.
Because I watched that change happen, and it was rough at first because there were people who didn't know how to embrace the change. But once we embraced the change, people just picked it up and ran with it. Mm-hmm. And I am very proud of the Missouri Coalition for the support and being the front line, so to speak, of some major changes that weren't popular.
Yeah. Hats off to you for that. I also want to ask you about conference. Any highlights you want to talk about that have happened so far, or is there anything you're particularly looking forward to?
Well, I always look forward to conference because we can all come together and we can learn from each other. That is one of the biggest things. And, of course, we have a fantastic lineup of different workshops. Mm-hmm. And this year I brought 2 of my newest employees, and I'm real excited about that because they're excited. And they're sitting down together. Well, I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to go to this one. Then we're going to come together, and we're going to talk about it. And so I think that is one of the greatest things about Missouri District Conferences. We have a diverse group that come together, and we can take all these workshops. We can take them back home, and we can apply those things to our shelter. And I'm watching my 2 new case managers. They're sponges. Mm-hmm. They're learning. They're eager to learn, and they're eager to share with each other how they can change some things for the better.
Yeah. So the value of conference isn't in just being here together over the next 3 days, but it's really also ongoing education that you take back to your community with you.
Yes. So that's, and it's too bad we can't bring everybody, all staff, but somebody still has to be there with all of the survivors we're working with right now. But we can, bring them to conference, and they get a fresh look at what it's like, and they don't feel so alone. We're in such a rural community that sometimes it's hard for them to feel like, nobody understands what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. But then when they come together with everybody else here and they begin to meet new people and learn new ideas, they realize they're not alone.
So would you say when you bring new staff to conference, have you seen it kind of ignite a passion, or what value has it had, particularly for new staff?
For new staff, they've got a fire and a passion because they're so new, and they come in and they're looking at the itinerary and saying, okay, what is going to help me do my job better? What workshop can I attend that's going to help me do this job better? Then they're going to take that back and they're going to apply that in their day-to-day operation. Mm-hmm. And when they apply that and they begin to discuss that, with myself and Debbie, our operations director, okay, how can I implement that? Can I do this? And would this be we can sit down and brainstorm how to help them implement what they've learned.
I love that. So as we're wrapping up, Teresa, I know you are someone who has had some wonderful days in this movement, but you've been around for a minute, and so I'm sure you've had some hard days too. And so when you have those hard days, do you have like a personal mantra that keeps you going, or something that you say to yourself that just helps out with those hard days, or any advice that you'd want to share with other advocates in the field?
I remind myself why I'm here in the first place. I'm here to help others. Mm-hmm. I'm here to see change in our community. I'm here for a reason, and I remind myself of that. But I also have a slogan that I have held on to from an elderly gentleman that was in our church many years ago. He's passed on many years ago, but he said to me, if you never remember anything, remember this: a little time and a few kind words go a long way. And that's my motto as a shelter for victims of domestic violence. A little time and a few kind words go a long way.
I love that. I'm going to think about that for a while and remember it. Any other final thoughts you want to share?
Well, I just love being a part of the coalition. I love the fact that, we're a strong coalition in Missouri. We are diverse in the operations, but when we come together, We throw all those differences aside and we can make a change.
Absolutely.
Difference. We need to make, we're making a difference, not only in the lives of those we serve, but in the generation that follow them.
Yes. Well, you do so much for the coalition, and we certainly appreciate all that you do, and appreciate you being on this podcast today. Thanks,
Well,
Tressa.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Sarah Ehrhard Reid. I work with the Department of Health and Senior Services in Missouri in the Office of Women's Health. I am the chief of the Office on Women's Health, which means I get to lead a team to work on maternal mortality, on violence prevention and response, and women's health initiatives for the state. That encompasses a lot of very impressive things, but is there one thing in particular that you want to give a shout out to that you're really proud of at the Department of Health? Right now, I'm really proud of the work that we've done to build our internal capacity to do our work. So we've done a lot of cross-training so we can understand the intersections of our different topic areas better. And we've also then built the number of staff on our team. So when I started with the Department of Health 8 years ago now, we had 3 people on our team, and we now have 9. And that sort of like long-term slow growth, I think, has really, like, it's so excited to have a team to really be able to move into the next phase of not just putting out fires, but like actually doing the next round of things. So I think that's what I'm most excited about right now is the energy and excitement that new team members bring and being able to take the next step on some projects we've wanted to do. Very exciting. I know from your relationship with us at the Coalition that you are someone who values collaboration. You do it very well. Can you tell us how unity plays into the work that you do, or why you think it's valuable? Absolutely. I think for me, unity is so important when we're thinking about getting the most done with the least amount of resources. I think most people who have worked in Missouri know that sometimes we're asked to do a lot with very little. And when we can all be moving in the same direction, in that sort of unified front, then we have a lot more ability to make the change that we're hoping to make. So for me, that involves working both internally with the other departments and bureaus within state government, and then also like externally with our partners and with our funded agencies to do the work in unison, not separately, because we could have competing messages about the leading causes of maternal mortality, or we could plan ahead of time and say, this is what our data is telling us, here's how we're going to talk about it, here are the things that are most important to us to address that issue, and that way the public has a shared understanding of the topic, and we're not creating more confusion in a time when there's so many mixed messages already out there. Yes, there is so much more that we can do when we are united together. Yes, absolutely. You're speaking to that. This is day 2 of conference. Is there anything that's standing out to you as a highlight or something that you'd like to lift up and talk about? I think one of my favorite parts about conference in general is getting to see both familiar faces and new faces and the sort of informal networking that takes place. I know that it's a part that's hard to recreate digitally online. We can see a lot of really great presentations, both in person and on WebEx, but that ability to sit down next to someone and hear about what work they're doing, for them to hear about your work and to give suggestions and ideas to each other in a way that you wouldn't normally have a chance to do. Like, that's my favorite part. So I brought two of my new staff members with me. And so this is my 5th conference, I think. And so getting to be on both sort of sides of it is really exciting, of the newness and then also the like seeing familiar faces. Yeah, that's true for me as well. There's so much added value to the side conversations and the networking we get to do and sharing meals together. So I totally agree, Sarah. Absolutely. So when I'm having a conversation with a fellow advocate or allied professional, I always like to hear about your approach for the work because I think it's inspiring and kind of maybe helps inform some of the work that I do too. So what would you say about your approach to advocacy and to social change? Absolutely. It was probably 12, maybe 13 years ago. I was at a coalition training, and one of the things we were asked to do was to create a personal mission statement, and not just like we want to end domestic violence, but what is something we want to do to make our world better, and then personally, like what is something we wanted to do. And so it has been on my LinkedIn profile since, which is to make the world safer for women and girls in my community. And so for me, then I've used that to sort of guide all of the work that I've done is what are we doing to make the world safer for these folks so we can make the world safer for everyone, right? So that's kind of like my sort of personal mission. And then beyond that, it's if it's not written down, it didn't happen. And also, there's a lot of gray area in the spaces where things are not written down. So sometimes rules are very black and white, but there's a lot of opportunity to be creative, to be creative in between there. And so that's the other sort of thing is like trying to be creative in that place where things are not written down, where we have this opportunity to do so, to find the creativity in the gray. I think that you and I have some very similar values. So I really appreciate hearing that. Thank you, Sarah. Any final thoughts as we're wrapping up our conversation?
No, I think that
my final sort of thoughts would just be that this work has been both personally and professionally just so interesting to me, and that there's still people that are new to the message and new to the work of advocates. I'll give an example. We work with maternal mortality in our team, and we have this beautiful board of folks who are the experts in maternal health. And when I explained what a domestic violence advocate could do, their minds were blown. They were like, what? Are you serious? And I said, absolutely. It's not just shelter. It's not just going to court. There's a whole range, continuum of services that advocates can provide, and they're available all over the state. It's not just our highest resourced communities that have access to them, that they are all over and they're doing great work. And when I explain that to them, they're like, well, what do we need to do? Like, how can we help them? So it's just one of those things that I think is exciting to see that there's still opportunities to like spread the message of not just the problem of domestic violence or sexual assault, but also what advocacy is and what it can do to support our communities. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, Sarah. I really appreciate it, and have a wonderful time at conference. Thanks, Nora.
Ogilvy, and I am with the NAACP of Springfield, Missouri.
Hi, my name is Kai Sutton. I'm with NAACP Springfield, Missouri, currently serving as president.
Hi, my name is Dr. Zipporah Burns. I'm with the NAACP, and I'm the health chair for Springfield, Missouri.
As I know, the NAACP has been around for a long time, but just in case somebody isn't familiar with it, can you say what the acronym stands for and maybe just a little bit of what you do?
Yeah, well, as president, the NAACP was founded February 12, 1909. And what we basically do, we of course, as you know, fight racism. We empower our communities of people of color. We fight education systems. We empower voters. I mean, we do a lot.
And what's something that you feel like is going really well at your organization right now?
Well, I think each one of us wears a lot of different hats in Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I think is that I'm proud of in our community is that after serving on the sexual assault task force, I started a group. There's two main people, and then Kai has also spoken in this, but we teach a class at the Springfield Police Academy to every incoming group of officers on how first responders respond to sexual assault and how their response as the first responder can turn a person from a victim to a survivor and possibly get a good court outcome that hopefully that survivor then, after telling their story, becomes an advocate for the next person who needs to tell their story. So I started that 6 academies ago, and I'm personally pretty proud of that. But that's only one thing in the scope of this work.
Thank you for sharing that. That's very inspiring.
Yes. One thing we also do with the NAACP is we raise awareness on issues. So Dr. Burns, healthcare chair, they do things for the health, to raise awareness on that. We also have a women's in the NAACP community chair, which is myself as well. And so what we do with that too is highlight issues that women go through. And we do talk about domestic violence. how I got connected to NAACP was through my work in domestic violence, how we became connected. But talking about, I'm most proud of raising awareness to our local community about important issues such as domestic violence, letting people know that it's a real thing and it is a problem, and that it's not a secret. It's not a single thing that happens to just this group of people. It happens to all people everywhere, regardless of income, race, level of education. And I like to spotlight stories of our local members of the community to let them know that they're not alone, but also to raise awareness on the issues so that other people can know it's happening right here, right where you live and go to work and school every day. So I'm really proud of that work.
So it's so important. Thanks for speaking to that.
As the health chair for the NAACP, a lot of the organizations that we deal with now really didn't associate themselves that much with the NAACP. So one of the things that I'm grateful about, for one, having the opportunity to be the health chair and to collaborate with a lot of organizations that wasn't on our radar in the beginning, and building a brand with my health team. We're very diverse. I mean, we're from all different parts of the health sector, and just branching out and working with a lot of different organizations, people, and making our community comfortable to come to us about different issues that they wouldn't otherwise deal with on the health industry side. So that's one thing that I'm very grateful about, that people are aware of who we are and they're not afraid to reach out to us, even if, it's just a simple question. I'm grateful about that.
Well, Dr. Burns, that is a perfect segue to my next question, which is about unity. The theme of our conference this year is unity. So can you speak to why you think unity is important in the work that you do to promote racial justice?
I think unity is a big thing, yes. But when you're working together, collaborating together with different people, you don't put your mindset on the fact that, oh wow, we're really unified right now. It's a common thing. You got to be comfortable with who you with every day, even within your team, our board, each committee. We have to be unified, even if we don't agree on everything, but we are heard. They listen. We all listen, and we work together. Unity involves all of us, and we all have a part to play in the committee or being unified. So I think being aligned on collaboration and understanding each other's feelings and what we stand on, I think that builds a stronger form of unity. We're unified anyway. We just strengthening the process.
So having that common language is really important. Anything either of you two would like to say about unity?
Yeah, I think unity is a big word, a very important word. It's essential to the advancement of anything that you want to get done. So anytime we can come together as a community to organize, mobilize people on an issue or thing, I think is just a great deal. In our community, there's unity, there's division, but I feel like people are getting a clue that unity is where it's at, where it needs to be. And so people are reaching out more now than ever to our organization, to us individually, to work together to solve an issue that harms people in our community on many different levels, so such as domestic violence.
I want to touch on something that Dr. Z said, that we don't always, even the three of us, we don't always agree on everything. And sometimes one of us, especially me, might raise their voice in a grandma kind of way. We, in Springfield, I think we really do have quite a bit of interaction with other groups that don't necessarily come to each other's meetings, but we do a lot of events together where we're coming together to hear what other options are going on in our community. I think we do a great job in Springfield.
Well, keep up the good work. That's great to hear about.
Thank you.
To piggyback on what they both said, that unity is a very powerful word, but I think unity also build comfort among all of us, and especially in Springfield. Yes, we are divided in different areas, but working together and different projects that we're doing, different organizations can pick something out of that, like Dee said, and they become more comfortable with working with us because they see that we're headed in the same directions. Our goals are the same. So it's better to work together and be unified than divide, because we want to capture the attention of the community as a whole. We don't need to divide their mindset. That's where we're at right now. So just building the community together from the different organizations and piggybacking off of each other. If something I can't provide, I know who can. And that's what we need to do moving forward. To me, that is unity, because I shouldn't be afraid to pick up the phone and call, I don't know, Westlake or whoever, to get something done for someone that's in the community, or find a resources that would benefit the community as a whole. So I think unity is about being comfortable, having the confidence to do what it needs to be done within our community, regardless religion, creed, or whatever. I mean, Springfield, we're very diverse there. And we have a lot of different type of survivors within our community. And it is great that someone out there can resonate with something that we have done. So that makes it come back again to comfort, especially for me. I'm comfortable with them because we have some of the experience. It may not be the same, but we can bounce off each other for healing. So, and I think that's why it's powerful for me to be here with them. And I, follow them a lot, because I'm learning my strength and growth from them.
I love that point that you just made there, where unity is so important for social change and progress, but it's really important for healing too. We know that survivors heal in connection with each other, in connection with community and supportive services. So thank you for making that point. But and you're here at conference. I was wondering if you could speak to any highlights from conference so far, or anything you're looking forward to at conference this year.
Well, so far for me, it was the keynote speaker. I felt like everything she was sharing about her personal story was identical, but it's really not the exact thing that happened. Being a professional woman, everyone think you have it together.
Yeah.
Oh, how can that happen to you?
Yeah.
I remember getting an award, and all these people were out celebrating me for that.
But it's really...
But no one in the audience knew that when I got to my car after that event, I was driving back to a hotel.
But it's really...
Because I was homeless and I was in a domestic violence relationship. I lost the baby all at one moment.
But it's
so
really...
for me, it was the keynote speaker. It's great to see representation, but also to hear from someone who's relatable made me feel more comfortable in my truth. And I just got so many ideas. I can't wait to go back home and turn my brain off for a little bit, but then turn it right back on.
Yes. Yes. It was so thought-provoking. Yeah. I agree.
I'm like, I was sending myself emails because I'm like, I got to do this, I got to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great.
Thanks for sharing that.
For me, like I said, it was the keynote speaker. And it felt like she was writing my story, like I was the only one in the room, and she was like, here's your story. But the main thing that stood out to me was the what is it, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
And when you come home, that was my life for 12 years. I wasn't sure what I was gonna walk into every day, if the person was even gonna be there. Just like I felt that deep down, because like I had mentioned, no one actually know what's going on the inside, on the other side of the door.
Yeah.
But they just see, oh, you're doing so well. And there's many times I was just telling them, I used to be a CNA and I would go to work, couldn't even lift my patients because neck down, I'm black and blue and sore. And and you have to play that off.
Yep.
And you have to play it off. I had a younger daughter at that time and my son, and you just have to play it off, to try to keep the peace in your home and your mind. And it changes you, how you view people, how you talk to people, uh, and it makes you not even be comfortable in your own space, even if you're in your own home. You're not comfortable in your mind. You just so many different thoughts going on, and you're like, and the main question we always ask ourselves, was this written for me? I was writing that down the other day, and I was talking to my daughter. I was like, was this path written for me? Is there a reason why out of everybody in my family I was chosen to carry this burden? And I spend so much time seeking the why. I haven't accepted the knowledge and awareness for the process to heal.
Yeah.
Because I'm too busy trying to investigate why was I chosen.
Yeah.
And that put a barrier on your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And no one ever deserves to be hurt. And trauma and violence is always going to be wrong. But you kind of remind me of this issue of post-traumatic resilience. And what are the strengths that, even though this should have never happened to you, what are the strengths that have happened? And you are the person you are because of the trauma you experienced.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how can you use that to help other people or to heal?
Yeah, and that was the main thing that got me where I am today. I it's hard to depend on people. You don't want to depend on people because you already feel like a failure because this has happened to you. But then when you have to rely on someone or ask for help, it just puts you down in the mud. And you already hear the whispers. That people gonna talk, especially when you're doing bad, and they're gonna have a judgment or assumption of you, and without even knowing the backstory. So I think for me that was the hardest part.
You all have raised so many important critical points. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. We really appreciate it, and keep up the fantastic work you're doing in Springfield.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hill. I'm the civil court advocate in Poplar Bluff, Missouri at Haven House.
My name is Amanda. I am an outreach advocate at Haven House in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, and I work with all clients in shelter and then clients that need resources out of shelter, whether they're a referral or just have a safe place and still need additional resources.
I know you all do so many incredible things at Haven House. You've got a lot of things going on for you in Poplar Bluff. Is there one thing in particular that you're really proud of that you want to give a shout out to?
I think because, Haven House has been around. This year. We're celebrating our 40th year, or actually next year. We're celebrating our 40th year. Gonna have a big black tie event, and we're really excited about that. And we're excited about the fact that we have really grown and really have built great services for our area and our surrounding area. And we have a great name. And my dad used to say, a great name is sometimes better than money, is better than riches, to have a good name. And so I'm thankful that we have a good name, that people can depend on us in our area, and that we have grown and we have really kind of gone beyond the boundaries that anybody ever thought we would. So I'm excited about that.
Congratulations on your anniversary. You have a great name and a great reputation. And so you've built that up over the last 40 years by providing incredible services to survivors in the community. And hats off to you for all of that. Anything you would add to that, Amanda?
Well, it is November 13th and Christmas is my favorite season. So things that I just really appreciate about Haven House, like currently, are really just all the things that we get to do this time of year as a team, individually and as a team for this particular holiday season. So, for example, I may work with clients and volunteers and working on like gathering gifts for Christmas so that families can be provided for, but we have a house manager and another advocate in shelter that coordinates like a collaboration event called Santa Land. So that's kind of their baby, and they get to own that piece of Christmas, representing Haven House and getting healthy relationships out there in that way. Jennifer and our HR lady, Miss Lisa, own a piece of Christmas where they provide gifts for different partnerships that we have in the community. So this year, I believe that they're putting together like fruit baskets and nuts. And instead of everybody getting bombarded with candy, they kind of have that piece to tie us into back to Christmas for the community. We will put up there's like a light show up at the lake, and they have something like 30 to 40,000 people that drive through their lake. So Haven House has a spot up there. Working on our Christmas party, working on it. In years past, we've gone and rang the bell for Salvation Army because they do provide some of our clients some financial assistance. So just kind of having everyone find their piece of the puzzle and come together. I know that I tell people all the time, Christmas restores my faith in humanity and in society. And I know that we live in an incredible community, but it's the only time of year that I really get a chance to see tears of happiness rather than tears of sadness. So that's what I'm really proud of right now is Christmas. You can definitely hear Christmas in the background. There is music playing. It smells like Christmas. So
I could not agree with you more, Amanda. There's something about seeing the generosity of the community that is so just fulfilling around the holidays. I totally am on board with that. And I know you all go above and beyond at Haven House for the holidays, and that you actually have a Christmas tree in your staff meeting room that you all keep decorated year round. Do you all still do that?
So we remodeled last year, and they took the Christmas tree from out of there whenever they were remodeling, and it's currently a tree of Amazon boxes that looks like decor is around it. So it's not technically the same tree. But yeah, we've got themes going year round, and we really just try to keep morale up for not only those that we serve, but for just ourselves in general, to keep us in the season and focused on what's in front of us.
Hope you all have a wonderful Christmas season this year in Poplar Bluff. I know you will. So the theme of conference this year was unity. Do you all have any thoughts about the importance of unity in the anti-violence movement, or how it's related to the work that you do at Haven House?
Well, I think about, I was thinking about that question, and I think about just the general definition of unity, which basically just means a state of being one or being united. And I think as a movement, I've never belonged to anything that's been more united than the Missouri Coalition. And so it has been on the forefront, and I always call you guys as our sister agency when I try to explain where we get our information, or where do we go to get built up, or where do we go to be strengthened. Or I always say, Missouri Coalition is our sister agency, because that's how I feel, that you're another part of the family, just in a different location. And I think the coalition do unite all of us as agencies together. And I think if there's agencies that are out there that's trying to do the work on their own, they're really missing the big picture, because it's not something that you can or even should try to do on your own. I think the groundwork has already been laid. I mean, people have already worked very hard to get the Missouri Coalition to where it is now. And that if we just come together, we can bring all of our collaborative ideas and all of our hard work together. And why reinvent the wheel when it's already been invented? And I learned that when I came to conference today or this past week, it was so good to see people I hadn't seen in a long time. And there's been a lot of people that have gone off the scene, whether they've been retired, and we've even lost some, some has passed on. And when I walked through those doors at the hotel, it was like a sense of nostalgia, like I was going to a family reunion, and that my heart, kind of swelled when I saw, Becky Vermeer, and when I saw, Laura, and when I saw a lot of people. They're my family. You're my family. And you don't get much any more united than that. And it's not about, being blood related. It's about being heart related. We have the same heart. We fight for the same things. And then when the speaker got up, she just kind of brought it all together and put a bow on it. So I was very thankful for that. And to sum it all up, MCADSV or MOCADSV is the definition of unity. And so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was so beautifully said. And as you were speaking, I could feel my heart welling up. So thank you for speaking to those, making those excellent points. Anything you would add to that, Amanda?
Really just ditto.
Yeah.
All the things Jennifer said. This is why I follow her. But when I was thinking about unity, I guess it's just something that I've had on my heart for since the beginning of entering this field. I think I once thought that domestic violence and sexual assault only applied to a certain demographic. It only happened in bigger cities. There's no way things are going on down in, my local counties. And entering into this movement 6 years ago, I have realized that we are all unified under that umbrella, but there's so much diversity underneath the umbrella. So domestic violence doesn't know any form of socioeconomic status or color or racism or sexism. Like there's just so much underneath it. And at the end of the day, we're all just people, and we all still have hearts, and we all still deserve rights. So coming together and being around all of the folks at Coalition from this last week at the conference, just, sometimes you can kind of feel like, oh, you live down in little old Southeast Missouri and we're the only ones facing these problems. But you get in the room with other advocates that bleed the same way that you do for the same demographic that we serve. And you just realize like we really do have a lot in common. So that's kind of my 2 cents for it.
We are truly in this together, aren't we? So you all talked a little bit about conference. And this is not the first conference you all have been to. Actually, you've been presenters at conference, both of you have, and had a fantastic session. You all both know I'm a huge fan of your presentation. But is there anything, as you're thinking about conference this year, is there anything that really stands out to you as helpful or inspiring, or any reflections you have about conference this year?
I think that conference was fantastic, first and foremost. I think you guys did a great job. And I came, it was just what I needed, because I was coming to get my tank filled, and I got my tank filled. And so I was thankful. And I remember Amber texting me the weekend before saying, I can't wait to go. And I said, me neither. I'm excited about it. And I think maybe there's something good about the fact that we started doing it every other year, because I think it just builds anticipation for that. And there was some highlights. There was several, actually. And I just want to speak to 2 of them. First, training me and Amanda went to, the breakout session me and Amanda went to, about testifying, being testified or called to testify, go to court. And it's important. And I used to say all the time, people used to say, oh, I really enjoy listening to you speak. And I say, yeah, I used to speak all the time, but now I have something to say. And so I learned in her training that just because you have something to say don't mean you should say it. Or don't mean that you are prepared for it. Or it doesn't mean that you are equipped to do what you do. But she was fantastic. I think her name was Jennifer as well. She was fantastic. Or Jessica. Jessica, yes, that's who it was. She was fantastic, and she gave us a lot of tips and told us a lot of things about testifying that was just profound. And maybe someday I could be considered someone that someone would refer to testify. But I appreciate the fact that I got that information beforehand, because it will prepare me for that in the future. And the other highlight was Jessica Hill. Oh my gosh. When I say that she's a beast, that's a good thing. She is phenomenal, and she's a highlight for the Missouri Coalition. She is a mentor. She is someone I look up to. She trained and taught us things from the beginning of how to set up an outreach or the resale shop to the end. She left nothing out. She was very open about what they had done, what they did try that didn't work, what we could look forward to, what would be the financial aspects, hiring, training. She was phenomenal, and I give her props for that. And so she was a highlight for me. And I not only learned the information about the things with the resale shop, but also how to train and how to mentor and how to teach. And so my hat goes off to Jessica from the Cape Shelter.
Anything you would add to that, Amanda?
Definitely second all the things that she said in regards to, honestly, both of the workshops. We got to attend both of those together. So I back all those comments. From Jessica Woolbright to Jessica Hill and both of their agencies, what they both presented on. I took away several tidbits from just both of their presentations and some things that I had never thought about. I know this is probably dumb, but I learn things new all the time. I didn't know, I had never considered what an expert witness looks like and all of the questions that you might have to ask yourself on what you could be prepared for. Even down to what you write into your policies at work so that no attorney could ever flip it on you and say that someone was paying for your lunch or whatever the thing, just to make your testimony that much more credible. So I learned a lot from her, learned all the things about the thrift shop. She and Jessica had me cracking up. She said, I am here to teach you and tell you about all the things as long as you don't open up a shop in Cape. You can open it up anywhere else, just not in Cape. And so she started off with humor. She was very engaging. They were both full of knowledge. I also enjoyed the first day that I was there. I went to a volunteer advocate training put on by Sarah Cooper and Leah Hensley, but from MOCADSV. They had some really good insights into volunteer training. And it's something that, at one point we had that written as like a partial job description for someone, but we do have a lot of volunteers. We're an organization of like 11 people, including all of our house managers, and there's just no way we could do what we do. And while I think that we do a good job appreciating them, I think that there's more that we can do. So they set a lot of examples, and I felt like I could lean on them if I had any questions. I attended a breakout session that Lisa Post Jones from Children's Mercy Hospital did on the disturbing connection from pornography, increased violence, and pediatric sexual assault. And it probably just reiterated some of the things that I already thought, that kids have access to, concerns, just some education points on those things. So that was very, very, very helpful. And then the last one that I went to was the Removing Barriers to Housing for Domestic and Sexual Violence Survivors. And that one was helpful as well. I took away several tips and tricks from that. I really enjoyed the speaker. I enjoyed the food. I also really enjoy staying in the place that we attend conference. It just takes that drive out. So those are all my highlights.
I just ask, I know you both have just a wealth of wisdom and expertise about advocacy. So if you have any advice or like a motto that keeps you going on hard days, we would love to hear about that on the podcast.
There's just one thing I wanted to speak to with the advice for other advocates in the field. And one thing I wanted to say is if you're new to the field, and I noticed there was a lot of new people that have came into the field and were excited about that. And a lot of them seem very excited and wanting to learn and to get busy in their field. And what I want to say to them is to just be open. Not just to be open to learn, but be open to correction. People correct you when they care about you, when they want you to do things the right way because you learn from that. It's sometimes we feel like that people that correct us are hard taskmasters, but from my past experience, I can tell you I'm learning and I'm where I am today because of that. And it's important that you be open to information and to know that your education has very little to do with how good you do your job. It's about your ability to humble yourself and to be able to put yourself in those people's shoes and have compassion and grace and mercy. Just be real, just be you. That's really who you're put here to be anyway, is yourself. And so if you can be yourself, this is not, and I heard someone say this at conference, this is not a job. This is a calling. This is who you are meant to be. You're drawn to this because it's who you are. And when I think about that, I've been an advocate all of my life. So I just stumbled into that job, but it was where I was supposed to be.
Well, I'm so glad that you answered that calling. I'm so grateful. You have done incredible work throughout your career, Jennifer. Amanda, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share on that?
When I first started 6 years ago, I did not have social work experience. And that's not what I got my degree in specifically. So I was not as prepared to come into the field as I think I thought I was. And I would, just being honest, to tell you that the first 6 months of working in this field of domestic violence and sexual assault, I came home every night just in tears. And my husband said, Amanda, I don't know if this is for you. Like, I'm not sure if you can do this. But my former director expressed to me in the very beginning, she said these words, and they didn't make sense at the time, but they make so much sense now. She would say, their wins are not your wins, and their losses are not your losses. You're just a vessel. All you can do is assist them. And so I think I used to I came from a retail world where you had very clear what a win was and what a win wasn't, and when you weren't meeting sales margins and things like that. And this world it's so gray. It's so different. There's, not one survivor that's the exact same as the other. Everyone's got different barriers. So just keeping compassion and empathy at the forefront of your mind, and that no matter what happens in that survivor's future, you can just be a vessel, and be honest with them, whenever they seek advice from you, and that, not every survivor needs the exact same solution. Everybody's a little bit different, and just celebrating them as they accomplish what they set out to accomplish. And if I had a motto, I was looking for one earlier, and I found one that says, a positive mind sees opportunities where others see obstacles. And so Jennifer would tell you that I'm one to just say it's a great day for a great day, no matter what. Whether it's raining in the morning, I'm probably going to wake up and say, good morning, sunshine, and just tackling each day with a positive mind frame really makes a difference in how you see those opportunities that arise each day.
Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing all of that wisdom with us on the podcast. We certainly appreciate it. As we're wrapping up, any final thoughts you wanted to be sure to speak to?
I forgot to mention about the motto. There's one that my pastor always speaks to, and because I'm part of the leadership team there, and it's the teamwork makes the dream work. And that is true. When you appreciate all those that are around you, everybody's not on the same level, and everybody doesn't bring the same thing to the table. But when you appreciate your team, there's nothing you can't do. So we always use that the teamwork makes the dream work.
You all do work together so beautifully at Haven House. Thank you both for joining me on the podcast. It was such an honor to have you here, and I just could listen to you all talk all day long. But thank you for joining the podcast today.
Thank you, Nora, for having us. Anytime, we enjoy talking to you. You are a sunshiny day, and we appreciate you and all that you do for the coalition. Thank you.
This is your host of Momentum for Change, Nora Mosby. As we are ending this episode, I want to thank all of the guests who joined MOCADSV for these discussions. It has been an honor to have you on the podcast, and I feel truly inspired by so many of the points that you all made. I also want to thank the conference attendees for showing up and helping to make the 2024 MOCADSV biannual conference a memorable and powerful event. Listeners, this has been the final episode of Season 3 of Momentum for Change. Please tune in next month as we bring you Season 4 of this podcast. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. This has been a recorded conversation now available in both video and podcast formats. A video recording of this episode is available on the MOCADSV YouTube channel under the Momentum for Change playlist. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel in order to receive new episodes in your YouTube feed. You can also find all of our Momentum for Change episodes available to stream on Spotify or wherever you find your podcasts. Momentum for Change is a podcast produced by MOCADSV with post-production support provided by Tim Stillings and promotion by Adrian Maddox. Again, I am your host, Nora Mosby, and we appreciate you joining us for this episode. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you next month.